All right, let's just picture it for a second. It's January 2026, and the global financial system is going through a massive shakeup, probably the biggest we've seen in 50 years. Now, this isn't some slow, creeping change. No, this is a full-blown financial earthquake, and it's being set off by a new partnership between China and Russia. They've gone and built a totally new system from the ground up, and it's getting ready to challenge the very foundations of how money moves around the world. And, that quote, it's not some over-the-top exaggeration. What we're witnessing is basically the birth of a parallel financial universe. Just imagine a completely separate set of train tracks for global trade built for one reason: to go around the old Western-led system. The potential fallout from this is huge, and believe me, it affects all of us. So, you're probably wondering, just how big of a deal is this? Really? I mean, how big is this shockwave? Well, let's just look at the numbers from early 2026. And honestly, what's happened in just a few short years, it's staggering. What's really mind-boggling here is just how fast this all happened. I mean, just look at this stuff. Gold's price, it didn't just go up, it exploded. We're talking more than tripled. And that trade between China and Russia, almost all of it, poof, moved away from the dollar. And Enbridge, remember that little pilot project? Yeah, now it's handling tens of billions of dollars in transactions. This isn't some what-if scenario anymore. This is the new reality. Okay, so what lit the fuse on this whole thing? I mean, why build a whole new system, and why do it so aggressively? Well, the story really starts with the US dollar's long, long reign and one specific event that, let's just say, sent a very clear message to the rest of the world. Yeah, it really boils down to this one idea: the weaponization of the dollar. See, for a long time, the dollar system was kind of seen as neutral ground, just the plumbing for global trade. But then it started being used more and more as a political tool. And for a lot of countries, that changed everything. The dollar went from being a safe asset to a potential liability, a political risk. All of a sudden, if you held dollars, you were exposed. And this number right here is what really kicked things into overdrive: $300 billion. That's how much of Russia's own money, their savings basically, got frozen by the West back in 2022. That wasn't just a warning shot, it was a full-on wake-up call for a lot of folks. You can bet that move sent a shockwave through central banks all over the globe. The message couldn't have been clearer. Hey, that money you've parked in the West, it might not be yours tomorrow. So for a whole bunch of countries building their own sanctions-proof system, that went from being a nice idea for the future to an absolute necessity, like right now. A matter of economic survival. So what do you do when you're faced with a threat like that? Well, China, Russia, and their partners didn't just write angry letters. Nope, they rolled up their sleeves and started building something new. And now, in 2026, that blueprint isn't just a drawing anymore. It's real, it's live, it's working. Right at the heart of this whole thing is something they call the unit. So what is it? It's important to get this right. It's not a new Bitcoin or some currency you're going to use at the store. Think of it more like a special tool, a digital instrument, built for governments and big banks. Its one and only job is to let countries trade with each other directly without ever touching the US dollar. It's like a neutral scorekeeper for global trade. But what gives the unit its value? Where does its credibility come from? Well, it's actually a pretty clever hybrid. 40% of it is backed by actual, physical gold. That gives it a rock-solid, stable foundation that everyone can trust. The other 60%? That's made up of a basket of currencies from the BRICS countries. So you get this mix, the old-school stability of gold, combined with the economic muscle of these major emerging economies. Okay, so if the unit is the new asset, then Project Enbridge is the new highway it travels on. It's the plumbing, the technology that makes the whole system work. Basically, it's a shared blockchain platform, a digital ledger where central banks can just plug in their own digital currencies. A digital yuan, a digital ruble, and zap payments directly to each other, no middleman. And the process is just ridiculously efficient. Here's how it works. Two countries agree on a trade. Their central banks put their digital money on the Enbridge platform, and boom, the whole thing settles in seconds. But here's the real kicker, the absolute game changer. No intermediary banks. None of those go-betweens that slow things down and take a cut. They're just gone. The old way of doing things is completely sidestepped. When you put the two systems side by side, the difference is just, wow. It's night and day. On one hand, you've got the old SWIFT system, kind of like a tangled mess of phone lines with lots of operators taking days to connect a call, and somebody can just unplug you. And on the other hand, you have this new thing. It's direct, it's instant, it works with lots of different currencies, and it was designed from day one with a single goal in mind: to be immune to sanctions. But, okay, let's be real. How do you get the whole world to trust a brand new system like this? You need an anchor, something solid, and that's where gold comes in. You anchor it to the one asset that humans have trusted for millennia, an asset that belongs to no single country. But this is more than just stacking gold bars in a vault. We're talking about a total digital makeover for gold. I mean, just take a look at this. It's wild. For 3 years in a row, central banks around the world went on the biggest gold buying binge in modern history. We're talking over 1,000 tons every single year. This was not a coincidence. This was a plan, a deliberate strategy to move away from the dollar and load up on a neutral asset that nobody could take away from them. And what did the market do? It exploded. As people started to connect the dots and see this huge shift happening, the price of gold just took off. It smashed through old records one after another, all the way up to over $5,500 an ounce. And this isn't just hype. This is the market fundamentally reevaluating what gold is worth in this new financial world. This really changes the whole story of gold. For decades, it was basically a lump of metal you kept in a basement, a just-in-case asset. It was passive. But now, with all this new tech, it's becoming an active part of the system. It's being tokenized and used every single day to settle huge international trades. It's a whole new life for the old metal. Okay, so we've seen the big shock, we know what caused it, and we've looked at the blueprint for the new system. So now let's pull back and look at the big picture. What does all this actually mean for the world? What are the real-world consequences? Well, what we're ending up with is something that experts are calling a multipolar financial system. It's a fancy way of saying that the era of one system, one currency, the dollar, being totally dominant, well, that era is over. We're moving into a world with several competing centers of financial power, multiple currencies, and multiple payment systems all existing at the same time. And the implications here are just massive. For starters, it makes U.S. sanctions a lot less powerful. It gives countries a way to shield themselves from swings in the U.S. economy and interest rates. It can even act like a shock absorber for the whole world, making sure essential things like food and energy can keep flowing during a crisis. Oh, and it's putting the final nails in the coffin of the petrodollar system while creating this huge, ongoing demand for gold as a settlement asset. So, where does that leave us? It really comes down to one massive question. Are we watching the world split in two, the start of a new financial Cold War? Or is this actually the birth of a more stable, more resilient global economy, one that isn't so dangerously reliant on any single country? Right now, in 2026, it's impossible to say. That's a story that's still being written right before our eyes.